All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Real Freedom Stories. Today we've got a great guest for you, Greg McDaniel. And Greg has spent a long time in real estate. So his dad was actually in real estate. So he's been an agent for 20 plus years. He's done coaching, he's done training. And he also is the host of Real Estate Uncensored podcast. So a long time of experience, lot of information, wealth of information. And we just love to have him on here and share his story in real estate. So welcome, Greg. We're so excited to have you.
Mike, what up, buddy? Hey, I'm honored and blessed to be here with you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate the opportunity to kind of share with your listeners and kind of rock out with some of my 21 years in business. My father's been in it for 50 years. That's a 50, by the way. In 3 different states, top producer in every single state. He brought me onto his team, and I've been blessed to sit at the feet of masters. When I was a snot-nosed 21-year-old. Didn't know anything from anything, and I was able to learn. So now my gift to the industry is to give back as much as humanly possible. So super glad to be here, brother.
Thank you. Well, why don't you just go ahead and get started and share a little bit about how you chose to get into real estate. I mean, obviously, like you had mentioned, your dad was in it. Maybe if you want to talk about, some of your experience as a kid, but at some point you had to decide real estate is the career that I'm going to pursue, whether it was intentional or haphazard. Why don't you just talk about kind of your entry into your personal career in real estate?
Oh man, it's a short question, long answer. I was in college. I got a doctorate, PhD, and MBA in drinking, drugs, and girls. 2 years into college, I had a solid D- average, and my parents said, nope, pulled the ripcord, and I was out. Mm-hmm. So I went from LA back up here to San Francisco, the Bay Area, where I've lived for the majority of my life. And I started working in a warehouse. And my dad looks at me and goes, Greg, are you sure this is where you want to be? And I said, well, yeah, because all my friends were working there. And I always joke about the fact that, the guys who owned the warehouse are actually my best friend's dad, right? And his brother. Mm-hmm. And so they created a grunts position for me. And I'm like, my office is in the basement with no lights. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. And so my dad finally talked me into getting into real estate, and I was such a snot-nosed, youngin' at that time when I first came on to real estate. I wanted to go back down to LA and be a movie star. Okay, right. That's where I wanted to be, because I've never met a microphone or a camera I didn't like, and so I'm like, well, gosh, it's real estate things like what old people do. Funny, I tell that story now. Yeah. But he dragged me into it, and I'm the guy that had the colored hair, the earrings, like the tattoos. I was not the normal real estate agent here in the Bay Area. He said, okay, screwball, you're going to go out there and you're going to door knock. And I said, what? And so for the first year of my career, I did nothing but door knock and cold call. And the day that stopped is the day, it was a semi-rainy day. I was walking up this little incline to this private house, and I had my umbrella out and everything. And my shoes literally filled up with water because I had worn holes in them. And I just whipped out my handy dandy phone. I'm like, Dad, this is BS. And he chuckled, and he's like, okay, come on in, let's start doing this. And then I started working with buyers. And, as it progressed, I'm not going to fill you in on all the boring details, but now I list 5 million, 3 million, 2 million. I'm working on a 10 to $12 million listing on a consistent basis because of the relationships I've made and the reputation that I have here in the area. But yeah, it is definitely a progression, but that's kind of some of my backstory.
So you were working on your dad's company, right? So you did the buyers and he would take the listings?
Yeah. So I was able to take listings, but I didn't know how to take listings. So I sat and listened to him, and I always tell this funny story. Like one of my first days in the office, I was all doodadded up just like him, combed my hair to the right, had my polka dot shirt on, had my khaki pants, had my penny loafers with pennies in them, just like him. Mm-hmm. And they said this weird word. They said escrow. And I'm like, what in the heck is an escrow? This is a foreign topic. And so I was able to learn from him. And as I got better, I predominantly worked with buyers because I just didn't have the knowledge to work with sellers. But he was gracious enough to take me on listing appointments with him. So I would sit there and I just didn't say a dang thing. I just sat there, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I started taking my listings, and then I started doing both sides, and it just grew. But yeah, it was an interesting couple of years in the very, very beginning, but so grateful to sit and learn from people. That's why I love podcasting. You can now learn from everybody at one time.
So then real quick, in terms of kind of sales, how has that changed now over the 20 years for you? Are you kind of cherry picking what you want to do? Are you referring stuff out to people? Or I know you had talked about how you've had a big influx in business here this year because you told people that you were going to be done doing sales yourself. So kind of chat about the last couple of years and where you've been at with that.
Yeah, so I do cherry pick on what I want to work with. There will definitely be some clients when they call me up, and I'm not saying this as an egotistical thing at all. I just say, look, I prioritize my time a little bit more than I used to, because back when I was younger, I would say, hey, look, I'm 367, 365, 24/7, and if I'm not, if I don't pick up my phone, I'm either asleep or my phone's out of power, and then when either I wake up or the phone gets more power, I'll call you back.
Mm-hmm.
And people just railroaded me. They just ran me over like a freight train, and I didn't respect my time. And so now I will choose to work with certain people and not choose to work with certain other people. And the script is very simple. And again, it's not an ego thing. I just know where my value is, right? I know my perfect client, what they look like. And so not look like gender or ethnicity, just like,
right.
Geographical, right?
Yeah.
Because you can run around and be a real estate hoe and work in any location. Like I turned down a listing from my own girlfriend, a $1.75 million listing in San Francisco. Why did I turn that down? I don't know that market. And I prioritized my time instead of having to go out and learn that again. So I said, you know what? Not a problem, babe. I'll just help you buy something. She said, okay, not a problem. And so as we keep going through this stuff, I just think when it comes down to understanding where and how you progress in your business, what do you like to do? Do you like buyers? Do you like sellers? A lot of people think I'm crazy pants for liking buyers, but it's like an Easter egg hunt. I go out there, I get to work with the buyers. I was out showing properties the other day, and it's like a little kid. Like they get so excited, like, oh my God, look at the pantry, or look at this, or check out this backyard, or I went and saw my sister's new property. They got my sister and brother-in-law and their 4 kids bought 10 acres, a big old house. Up in the foothills, and you should have seen their excitement. So,
I tell people that real estate's an entrepreneurial playground because you can choose what you want to do. And if business is slow or income's a little bit lighter and you do need to lean in and take on more clients, you can. And if you have a lot of clients and you're valuing your time more, you can always refer business out. And if you do it in a respectful way to them and say, look, I'm probably not the best person for you at this particular time. My friend agent over here actually is going to be the best one to take care of you. They respect that. And so you get a chance to kind of upsize and downsize your business based on how busy you are, what's happening in your life, where your income's at. And that's the beauty about being in real estate is you can flex up and flex down depending on where you're at as you go. And so over 20 years, there's times where you decide to take on more. There's times where you decide to refer out more, and it's totally up to you.
Well, yeah, because the old adage is there's riches and niches, right? When I was doing my door knocking, like you talked about, like some of the main cities that we work in are Alamo, Danville, Walnut Creek, Concord, Pleasant Hill, and San Ramon. Those are the kind of it's called the 6 city corridor, right? And I door knocked so much, like I knew what people were eating for dinner on certain streets. I called so much. They knew me by my voice, and I was good in those niches. Now, if you took me down to San Jose or Fremont or Milpitas or San Francisco or Daly City, man, I need a GPS to get there. So I think referrals is probably one of the best means of making income, because you can with all the leads you can buy now, all that we can generate and everything else, you can become a referral agent and just collect 25 to 30% on these things all day long, and then pay an admin or a VA in the Philippines or something just to track where these agents are with their clients. You keep dishing these bad boys out, you're going to have money coming in. And guess what? You can go sit your butt down by the pool, drink a martini or a margarita, whatever your flavor is, or just a cup of tea, and just enjoy life. So yeah, there's a huge value in referrals.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is the value of your time in that case, where especially early on, agents think like I have to chase everything all over the place. And what they may not realize too is if you're deciding to make an extra 30-minute drive somewhere, it might be an unmotivated buyer. And so it's actually costing you time. It's costing you business to chase everything and anything. And if you find a general spot that you want to be in, and you find other partners that you can refer business out, it's actually going to help you grow faster because you can turn down the stuff that's not in your zone, which is going to allow you to work more inside of your zone, which is going to help you get to that niche point to where you can earn more money and your dollar per hour is going to go up.
100%. I mean, a lot of people, they're energy vampires and they're time suckers. They will bleed you dry just because they want to feel like a pretty princess and they want to be shown to all these nice homes. Look, make sure they're pre-approved, guys. Talk to the lender, get a letter from them, make sure that they're actually qualified, understand their timelines, their wants, their needs, their desires, and then make an adult decision on what you want to do. Also, when you work, you figure an area out that you want to work in. This is one of the things that I've studied for years. Is your turnover rate. And so your turnover rate, obviously all you intelligent human beings know what that is, but some of you guys might be new. It's just what's the percentage of the properties in the area that sell in a given 12 months. Analyze your condos, townhouses, single families, multifamilies, 2 to 4 units. Then you look at everything individually, figure out where you can market to, who you should market to. That way you can, like you're saying, like you can either go up in production or maybe slow it down a little bit depending on what you want to sell. And every one of these different areas are going to shift and be different. So I found that, in our marketplace, the single families were about a 6% turnover, right? In the city, I live in a city called Walnut Creek. In Walnut Creek, I then turned around and I'm like, because I was working with one of my new agents on my team, and I said, well, okay, I mean, that's not, I mean, it's good, but it's not great. So we analyzed condos, townhouses, and then we went to multifamily up to 4 units. Up to 4 units, those stinking things were moving at a 12% turn every 12 months. I'm like, okay, changing route. And we shifted course. But yeah, niches, produce riches, and just understanding where you want to work. Now, don't work where it's pretty time. Don't work in your neighborhood. Analyze the numbers, the statistics, look at what's going on, and then analyze it consistently and persistently because it's going to shift. Like we just went through an election, right? Now, what was it like in December or November? I don't know. I didn't analyze your market. Now, what are we in March? It probably has shifted a little bit, but always be watching the metrics. That's how you make true wealth, and always be nimble. Never be, because success is rented. It's not owned. Here's what I mean by that. So if you're newer in the business or you're getting in this game, understand the fact the agents that are dominating certain marketplaces or in certain arenas, look, they're going to be out of the game at some point. You can step into their shoes. All you have to do is be ready for when the coach says, okay, you're in, pal, go. It's because you're ready to rock and roll. That's how you really make money in real estate. My humble opinion. But Mike, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I was going to go back to what you were talking about in terms of turnover. I tell people the last house that I lived in, when we moved in there, it was a new construction home in 1977. I think we bought it in 2013. And it was the original owner that lived there. Right next door to us was another home that was built at the same time, and it had the original owner in there. Across the street, same thing, original owner. And then the house next to them, I think they had lived there for like 15 years. So I tell people it's what's seen as a solid neighborhood. The price point was pretty solid. But yeah, if there's no turnover, we do better when there's more transactions happening, right? Because there's more opportunities. And so I said, you could door knock my neighborhood. You could be the best agent in the world, the most knowledgeable agent in the world. But if nobody wants to move over the course of 20 years, then there's no business to be had there. Outside of referrals, you could pick up those referrals, but it's probably better to spend your time to go find a neighborhood where it's kind of the move up neighborhood, maybe 6, 7, 8 years old after new construction, and now they're looking to move on to their next home. So you've got to analyze its average sales price, but that turnover piece is so important because you could door knock that neighborhood 30 times a year, and if nobody's moving, nobody's moving.
Exactly, and that's again, like guys and gals, when you're buying or selling properties and you're trying to get into the listing game, don't just say, "Oh my God, I just want to work my neighborhood because I like my neighborhood." Yeah. That's why you like your neighborhood. So does a lot of other people. Let's go find places that people are trying to get out of. So like the first time buyers go to middle buyers, the middle buyers go, buy the, their crown jewel. The crown jewel either goes back down to the middle buyer after the kids go to college, or they're going to go down to the bottom tier and probably buy some investment property. So you can market each one of these, but you have to speak the right language to each one of these different arenas. You can't talk to the first time home buyer and say, hey, want to go buy a $20 million house? Or then $20 million house people are like, hey, you want to buy a $100,000 condo? No. You're speaking the wrong language. So just learn how that goes, and your money will just come out of your ears.
Yeah. Yep. So now, okay. So in your real estate career, I know that you have some other things that you've been working on. So kind of when was that spot where you decided, okay, maybe I want to shift gears a little bit? You've got coaching, you've got training that you do, you've got the podcast that you do. Kind of walk me through that time when you're like, okay, I want to add on to what I'm doing here in real estate.
Sure. So there was a day. So I've always worked on my father's team, right? Since day one. We've always had a private office, which means we always had the closed door. And so the conversations and everything that we had behind the closed door, I thought were very normal real estate conversations. Came to realize it was a very high level conversation. There was scripts, techniques, tactics, marketing, how we operated, the whole thing, right? I was just normal. Well, it wasn't. So I walked out of my office one day. It was my past brokerage. And I overheard a conversation, and I was just like, what the dang? So I walked over, I'm like, wait, is this what you guys are talking about? They're like, yeah. I said, no, don't do that. You're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. Do this, and that. But make sure you check with our broker and our controller. They went and checked with them, and they're like, oh my gosh, that was like spot on. I'm like, holy mackerel, I may have something here. So I was working with a company, still I'm working with them at this moment. And they helped me put videos out to my database. And so I talked to my then coach over this company, and I'm like, hey, his name's Matt. I'm like, hey, Matt, do you want to do a podcast with me? He's like, yeah. And that was about 6 years ago. And I didn't know he was going to ask me the same thing, but I beat him to it by a week. And so he asked me, why do you want to do this? And I said, because I believe with the people I've been running with in my career, I can give back to this community as much as humanly possible, and I can pivot. And it also fulfilled the narcissistic, desire of mine to be on camera, because I love being on camera. I don't know. It's just something I've always wanted to do. Right. So I'm like, wait, so I can give back to people. I can kind of scratch my own itch in regards to being on camera and kind of doing that. And you know what? We started producing the podcast, and Matt just kind of looked at me and goes, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yep. 100%. And so we started, we never looked back. We almost have 1,000 episodes now on our show, been one of the top 10 rated, and we didn't ever spend a dime in marketing, just because it spread by word of mouth because of humor and entertainment and education. And people, I've literally been told by hundreds and hundreds of people, oh my gosh, Greg, thank you for your podcast. This one episode of this one person, this changed my business. And I'm like, oh, I'm so unbelievably humbled. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, walking out and talking to those agents, that was the first time that my mind was kind of shifted. Like, okay, this is where I'm going to pivot. This is how I'm going to coach. This is how I'm going to train. This is how I'm going to, give back with the podcast and speak around the world. And I never ask for a dime from anybody. I mean, anytime I speak, I ask them for $1, just so I can write it off, right? And then I go. But yeah, I pivoted that one day. Never forget it.
So what would you say to somebody then? There's lots of coaches, training organizations out there. There's a wealth of information. How would you help somebody discern what's good information versus what's bad information?
That is a powerful question. And there's a new app. I'm sure you're on it, called Clubhouse. It's addictive as all get out. There's a lot of false prophets out there. There's a lot of people just fluffing up their tail feathers, trying to be all big and show, big hat. I call them big hat, no cattle, because you need vet them out, research these individuals, take a look at who they are, take a look at their reviews. I mean, do they have a good reputation? Are they actually spitting content that's bringing value to you, or are they just puffing up their tail feathers and making themselves look good? Are they driving the Lambos and the big houses and the, all this and another thing? Or are they going back and they're taking the money and they're like, I have my good friend, his name's James Rembrandt. He's AKA the Zillow killer. Go take a look at this guy. He runs a boot camp. Costs $197 for this boot camp, right? It's 5 days long. Do you know what he does with all the money? Gives it to children's hospitals. that man speaks truth. I would follow him into battle any day of the week because of his actions. So look, you're gonna follow some people that aren't going to be 100% correct, but fact check as many people as humanly possible. Vet them out. Look what other people are saying. Have they been doing this for 2 months, or have they been doing it for 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of individuals, male and female, that I know, that I've watched them come up in their careers, and I've actually helped each one of these individuals, and they spit a lot of nonsense, and they're great at marketing. They're great at marketing. They're just not speaking truth.
We're taking a brief pause from our episode. We'll get back to you in a second. This is Mike Swenson. Are you looking to get more out of your real estate career? Are you looking for tools and systems and ways to build wealth so that you can have the financial freedom that you desire? I have a vision to create 20 millionaires over the next 20 years, and I want to do that for you. If you're interested in learning more about that program and how I can help you, reach out to me at mike@realfreedom.com. That's MIKE@RELFREEDOM.com. Thanks. Well, and I think too, there's a discerning process that happens too as you're listening to people. As you're looking for themes, right? Just because so-and-so has a postcard that works really great. A lot of times people think, well, if I just had that postcard, now my business is going to take off. You gotta look for the principles. You got to look for the consistency and what's repeatable in your market as well. And a lot of it's the mindset, it's the habits, it's the tactics that you use. It's not necessarily like, what does my flyer look like, or what does my mailer look like? And it's doing it consistently, right? It's not chasing shiny objects, because if we all chase shiny objects, we could feel busy, but it's not going to necessarily lead to production for us.
It's not, and you nailed that on the head. Real estate agents, what we're perceived as, we're dressed up in a nice dress or the nice suit, we're driving the Mercedes or the BMW, we're eating caviar and champagne for lunch on a Wednesday. We make millions of dollars, and all we do is put a sign in the yard. Mm-hmm. Hard stop. No. Here's the reality. We're stressed out. We're gaining weight. We're not spending time with our loved ones. We probably eat at our desks for the most part, especially with COVID, on a bag lunch, or you go to the supermarket. You stay up late. You don't hang out with your friends or your family on the weekends because you don't have time to out showing or listing properties. And that's the unfun, unseen, unsexy part of real estate. I mean, I've done almost 500,000 cold calls in my career. I was knocking out between 500 and 750 phone calls a day. And guess what? Is that sexy? Absolutely not. I would do 250, go take a break, do 250, then do cold call, and then do door knocking, then do follow-up, then do handwritten letters every single day if I wasn't with a client. So yeah, it is persistent and consistent activity. So could you be posting on social media and doing social media videos? Yeah. That's a great way. My friend Stevie Hahn, when I first met her 5 or 6 years ago, she was so afraid of a camera, she wouldn't go near it. She and her girlfriend would drink a bottle of wine together to go do their first video. And I laughed my rear end off because it was hilarious. But now this girl gets between 80 to 85% of her business from video and from social media. So is her marketing on the phones? No, she's doing it in a different manner. But whatever lane you choose, make sure you stay consistent on it. The guy who gets hit and gets knocked down, doesn't get back up, guess what? You lose. But if you crawl your butt back up, dude, you will always flipping win. Like I was telling you off air, I took about 2+ months off from working out. And my girlfriend told me, well, Greg, I remember when you were a little bit better shape. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, guess what, Greg? You didn't stay consistent on your working out. You are paying the consequences now. And so, guys, you have a decision. Either you're consistent and persistent with your marketing and prospecting. And like Mike was saying, don't go all, shiny object. Find your lane, stay in your damn lane, and then just stay consistently at it. You will be incredibly successful. It might take a little time. So don't get discouraged. Do you think I got discouraged when I was doing 500,000 cold calls? I got told no, got told F off more times than I can count. But on the other side, I met more nice people than I did rude people.
Well, and that's the trap that people fall in is, does pretty much all lead generation work? Yes. I could send 1,000 recipe cards to people, and one person might call me back and say, "Hey, I got this awesome recipe card. You know what? I'm actually looking to sell my house." And then that leads you to think like, "Oh, well, now I just need to send more recipe cards out." And so the tricky trap for agents is there are stories of success using a lead gen source.
Mm-hmm.
The question is it the best lead gen source, the best use of your time and money? And ultimately, is it something that you can do?
Right.
You know, we always tell people if cold call's not your thing, that's okay. You have to go find your thing though. You know, you can't say, well, today I'm going to do this, tomorrow I'm going to do that, tomorrow I'm going to do that. You have to pick a lane. And so find something that fits your personality, find something that fits your passion. And guess what? There's always going to be a part of real estate where you're just going to have to do something that you're not super excited about doing. So, so if it's not cold calling, that's okay, but you got to pick a lane. You can't just bounce from lane to lane to lane and expect to have consistent business.
Yeah. I mean, when I started the business 21 years ago, I mean, there wasn't social media. I mean, they're barely like working cell phones. I mean, this is in the prehistoric days of technology. And so guess what? My idea was to be out of the box. So I tried everything out of the box that could possibly work. I mean, my team always makes fun of me for it, but my lane is just weird. That's my lane. My lane is weird. And so, I mean, I've delivered over 70,000 coasters like you'd see in a bar, coasters to a local bar and a couple bars. Got a couple of deals from that. And they said, well, I said, why'd you call us? The guy's like, I've been putting my beer on your face for the last 6 months. You know, we had 2 14-foot moving trucks with our heads about this big. And I talked our team into getting. Got multiple deals from that. You know, it just, the laundry list goes on and on of crazy, but it's just find something that's different but consistent and just go after it and never say sorry. I had a Zion XB. Do you know those little, remember those little car things? Mm-hmm. I had a Zion XB. Everyone thought I was nuts. But you know what? I wrapped that full thing with my face and my team image and everything else. Dude, I had so many people just saying, oh my God, I saw you driving down the road the other day. And in my head, I'm like, I haven't had that in almost a year. Okay. But it's memorable. So just be memorable, be consistent, be persistent, and never say sorry for anything that you do. But of course, be moral, ethical, and above the board. Don't be weird. Not that kind of weird, but good weird.
Right. So talk to me then a little bit more about your future and what you're looking to do. I mean, you're as exciting as real estate is, as fruitful as it is. There's a period where we always want to talk to people about having the wind at your back versus feeling like you're running into the wind. Yeah. And so it might be, picking up additional streams of income. It might be finding, new ways to leverage your time, whether that's being more efficient with your time or leveraging it out to other people. How do you assess where you're spending your time now and kind of where you're looking to go here in the future?
Okay, great question. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be shifting. I'm stepping out. Every time I say this, the universe kind of slaps me, but I'm trying to step out of active production. I have the shot glass, the coffee mug, the baseball hat, and the sweatshirt. So I have all my awards and everything else. So where I'm trying to go is I have a program, a training program called List and Sell Like Crazy. And it's a 10-hour course. My friend Bernice Ross and I, who I produce, content for Inman News every week with her, she and I put this together. I'm not bragging. She's the one that really kind of did it. Dude, this thing, we have a listing program in there that gets a 93% conversion rate every single time if you just follow what we're doing. So I'm going to step into selling that. For my company, I want to start working and getting more people into my company that I'm currently with, my current brokerage. I have a VA, her name's Heather, out of the Philippines, who's managed and trained by a company called Clever Leads, spelled with a K. And they do a ton of lead generation. We do geofencing, text messaging, when we get a 40 to 70% return rate, response rate on every single campaign. My VA, Heather, will then go and follow up with them. She's just setting appointments for me now. Doing recruiting for my current company, like we talked about. So yeah, and then I'm also getting into, and I'm learning right now. I partner with a guy and did some horse trading with him, but he's teaching me how to buy properties from their tax liens, delinquent taxes, and how you don't have to wait the 3 years with the stuff that he's come up with. He's taught this all over the world, and I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, Greg, you can go buy a $400,000 or $500,000 home, for like 50 grand. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
Tell me more about that. Yeah.
Oh, he bought a property for $50,000. This is his biggest one, 50 grand. Now it's not going to happen every time. And it was worth $3 million. Guess what he did? He turned around and sold it back to the current owners at $1.5 million. They win. The government gets the money. You just made $1.5 million. And I'm like, teach me, Yoda. I need to learn. I need to learn. And so I'm getting into that more and more just to build my own portfolio. I want to buy, 14 to 20 homes this year, kind of using that method, helping people get out from underneath that stuff. So a lot of stuff. I mean, the future is shifting. I see real estate as a whole really shifting, with Amazon, with Zillow getting in, with a lot of these major corporations. They all see the value, the multi-billion-dollar industry, which they never wanted to get into. And California, they decided to try to turn us into W-9 employees, not 1099, independents. And thank God that didn't pass. But I mean, it's all a shift. And what are you seeing, by the way? I'm curious to hear what you're seeing.
What I think is really important for people to understand is these companies are going to come in. They're going to have a stake. And what I've always learned is having an abundance mentality, right?
Yes.
There will be opportunities out there for people in real estate. It may look a little bit different. You might have to adapt a little bit. And yet at the same time, it's not like somebody like Zillow, or it's not like somebody like Amazon is going to come in and soak up every opportunity in every lane in real estate, right? No. Because you've got production, you've got coaching and training, you've got investing, you've got buy and hold, right? Like you could still be a landlord if a company came in and took all the sales away. You could still be a landlord and make a ton of money and be very successful in real estate. So I think a lot of times agents, run with pitchforks and tar and feather and think that the whole world's going to end because something disruption related is happening. And the reality is yeah, you may have to cut, you may have to adjust, tweak some things. You probably have to get sharper, right? So we always have to keep our saw as sharp as possible, because the people that are going to fall out when there's disruption or change are going to be the bottom quartile or the bottom half of people. And so you always are going to have to get better, but it's not like the world's going to end tomorrow because a new disruptor has come into play. I've been in real estate for 7 years. There has been a lot of disruption in 7 years, and I'm still here. I still have a job. I'm still building wealth for the future and building my future. It's okay. Like we don't have to have this, that the whole world's going to go to hell in a handbasket next year because this new technology or this new company came into the space.
Yeah, no, I 1000% agree with you. I remember so before you got into it, this is when Zillow just came onto the market, right? We're at an open house, and I remember I can drive you to this house, right? And my dad is sitting there. I'm there. We're doing a broker's tour with him, or caravan, whatever you guys are, the vernacular you're used to. And we're sitting there eating some sandwiches, and all the agents are gathered around my dad because he was like the OG when back then. And everyone's like, "What do you think about Zillow? What's going to happen? Are we all going to be out of business?" Because they all thought Zillow was going to put us out of business. Guess what? Did not happen. Is Zillow going to come in and they're trying to compete with us? Yep. Did they knock out of all of your reviews that you built years and years and years of Zillow reviews? Yep, killed that. But is that going to kill your business? We just went through an election cycle. I don't care if you're the left, the right, the middle. Don't care. Here's the thing. One side was really ticked off at the other side because it didn't go the way they wanted, right? And here's the thing. I after listening to people complain and moan, I really kind of just sat up and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wake up in the morning, and there may or may not be a new individual in the White House, but that does not affect my personal business. So guys, when it comes to just doing your business, don't worry about anything out there. The Navy SEALs have a thing called the 3-foot rule. They can control anything within 3 feet of them. That's their control zone. Think about this. And actually they built, because when they learn how to do rock climbing, that's how they talk about it, because they can get within 3 feet, to get the next hand grab. So think about it like this. Don't worry about what these people are going to do. You just knuckle up and just put your nose to the grindstone. Never look around. We don't care what Bob's doing down the office. Okay. Screw Bob. It's all about you. Can you do better than you did today? And if you can get up and you can do one more phone call, one more door knock, you can post, one more something interesting on social media to get the attention, then do, messages back to them, build the rapport, gain the relationship, go from online to offline as fast as humanly possible, and just build your database and stay in front of them and be relevant. Screw Bob. He ain't doing that. I guarantee you he's not doing that. Not on the level you're doing it. So stop caring, guys. It's all about a look at me mentality. But if you give back to people and you ask them one question, Mike, it's this. Mike, how can I help you grow your business? What does your perfect client look like, or your perfect customer look like? I do a lot of calls and a lot of doors and a lot of social media. I want to be a referral source for you at a zero cost basis. I just want to see you and your family live the best version of life. So how can I help you grow your business? What would that mean to you if someone did say that?
It would mean a lot, and it means you care. And I think that's where, at the end of the day, the relationship wins. If you want to help them succeed and you show that you earnestly care for them, and your kids go to school together, you're in a social club with the other parents, like those relationships are going to win. And the thing that I've always believed too is, somebody else doesn't have to fail for you to succeed, because it's a big enough ocean, right? Yeah. Where the number one agent in your town could still stay the number one agent. And you could still double your business next year, or triple your business, or quadruple your business. Now, if you're number two by one transaction, if you get an extra transaction, you'd now become number one and they wouldn't be number one. But there's so many agents out there. Like if I were to pull my zip code, probably 60 to 70% of the transactions, or even more, are done by agents who have a onesie twosie of, I sold this one house and I sell a house in another city and in another city. So all of those people, if I took an extra 10 transactions or an extra 15 transactions or 50 transactions in my zip code, they could still go find other deals. So that's where I think the abundance mentality is, somebody else doesn't have to fail in order for me to succeed, and we can still all win, and we can all make money together and be successful. It does mean I have to lean in. It does mean I have to do work. And yet, just because one person or one large company comes in and takes market share doesn't mean I have zero market share now.
Dude, you if you saw me looking down, I was writing down a quick name, and it was a client of mine. About a year and a half ago, they called me up, and because I had been staying in relationship with them for the last, at that point, it was 16 years or 20 years, something like that. It was a long time. I sat down with him at his his breakfast table on a Saturday morning at 8:00. I never work on the weekends, but for this guy, because he's a past client and a friend, I did. And I said, "What's going on, man?" And he gave me the laydown of kind of what's going on, how he just couldn't afford to be in the home anymore. He was just eating through everything. And I said, well, what if I could help you stay here? Like, would you be okay if I could help you stay here and you don't have to move? And he looked at me and goes, well, wouldn't that mean you don't get, the listing and the buy side of our new house? And I said, that's exactly what that means. But let me see if I can have some lenders call you and see if we can get you refinanced and keep you and the wife and the kiddos here in the house. He said, why would you do that? I said, because you come first. And so he tried. He couldn't afford it. So he did sell his house. It was like a 2.1, and we bought him a $1.35 million property. And he and this is where it comes from, from caring, right? He and his wife were sitting there and we're finalizing the paperwork a week later, right after the lenders had called him. And they said, well, gosh, Greg, thanks so much for really caring about our family. I said, guys, you're my family, of course. So they said, well, do you think you can help us sell our investment property and buy another one too? And I'm like, hold up. I'm going to get 4 transactions in my head. I'm going to get 4 transactions by trying to cancel one. And they said, I'm like, why would you guys do that? Because you truly wanted to care, wanted us to care. And so, like you said, everything comes from the mindset of excess. I mean, there's so much, you could not handle the amount of business if you got everything. You'd go nuts, and you could level of service and go to the floor. Let some other people get some cheddar too. It's okay. And then you help those people, and then you work with the other agents. And when I first got in the business, I thought every agent was evil. I'm like, ooh, they're coming after my side of the pie. Then I understood that, nah, man, they're great humans. They're phenomenal human beings out there. They're just trying to make their way in the world. So yeah, the mindset of bounty is something where I live. And I love that you live there too, man. That's awesome.
All right. So talk a little bit about kind of financial and time freedom here as you think about your future between now and the last day, whenever that is for you. What would you see happening because of what you've built in your real estate career, because of the knowledge that you've gained, the different streams of income that you have in place? Kind of what would financial and time freedom look like for you?
Financial? Well, I'm very over the top, right? And so my whole idea is that I want to put a significant amount of people in the company that I work with. And that would net me again, astronomical numbers. Don't judge a player. Okay. Hate the game. I want to get somewhere in the probably $20 to $40 million a year in passive income, which is extraordinarily affordable. And I know I can get there because I have assassins set up in different places that are helping me get there. And then when it comes to time, my thing, I'm working, and this isn't weird, but I'm working more productively from my bed. And so I'm enjoying my time, just kind of not rushing so much. So I've made a deal with myself in 2021. Since 2020 was a dumpster fire and we didn't know what the heck was up and what the heck was down, right? We're like, okay, whole new world. What the heck's going on? So I said, I'm going to do one thing a day. Is it going to be, one thing successfully? So is it going to be set up a showing, acquire a new buyer? Am I going to prospect and get a listing appointment? Am I going to do follow-ups? But I'm going to do one thing successfully every single day. And after that, my time is mine. I can go for a walk to the park and go see the ducks. I can go head over to the grocery store and get a sandwich. I can sit on my butt and watch TV. I can do follow-up calls to friends and kind of check in with them. A lot of people, mental health-wise, they're a little bit on the slower side at this moment just because of what's going on in people's personal lives. And so my one thing, it is tremendously, it is tremendous to give yourself that one task. And again, a lot of people are going, "You're crazy, Greg." I'm like, okay, cool. Not a problem. And that's just my version of time freedom at this moment. So yeah, there it is. And then just selling my course and building my the people in my team that we discussed to get that certain level of income. I have a note on my whiteboard. It's my girlfriend wrote it. So she wrote here, and it's an inside joke that we have, right? Because anyways, I'll explain that later. She said, "Make enough Zimbabwe dollars so Jackie can be a part-time, in quotes, full-time naked housewife." So she can work part-time. And I'm like, that motivates me more than anything right there, than anything else out in the world. Because you know what? We get up at 4:30 in the morning to get her out the door so she can be at work at 7, right? You know how much she hates that? That's my motivation. That's why I crush. That's why I keep pushing, because I need to get to that quote right there. So yeah, there it is.
And I can speak like when my wife got to where she didn't have to work full-time and she could work part-time, like that was a significant achievement for me, because I felt like, okay, now she's gaining some time freedom back, and so we've got 3 kids. And so now my kids get more of mom, versus a nanny or babysitter or whatever we had lined up at the time. And so that's the quality of life piece. And so, there will be a day where she won't have to work. And so that's those, it doesn't have to be overnight. It can be, we say success is sequential, but it's nice to be able to kind of check those boxes off as you go. So I love you sharing your story like that. So for those folks that have, heard your story, Greg, and it's resonated, how can folks reach out to you and get a hold of you? And, what else would you like to promote here?
I just want to promote what you're building. I love your mindset. I love where you're coming from. I mean, you come from a heart of gratitude. I can feel that in the course of this interview and our pre-show. So I just want to support you as much as humanly possible. If you guys like what I'm putting out, go ahead and just follow and subscribe to my podcast called Real Estate Uncensored. There is a lot of cussing on it. I am the uncensored version. So
this was more of the censored version of the Real Estate Uncensored.
Yes, I'm so proud of myself. But we have almost 1,000 episodes. We're on YouTube. We're on every streaming podcast site out there. So go out there and take a look at us. I'm not the smartest man in the room. The guests that I bring in, they drop knowledge bombs like it's their job. Like I'm taking notes as fast as possible on some of these shows. Follow me on Instagram, Greg McDaniel, REUL. you for Real Estate Uncensored, and then Greg McDaniel on Facebook. Send me a DM on either one of those platforms. Love to get in touch with you guys. And you see me in Clubhouse, make sure you say hi and follow me, and let's join in the conversation together. But thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it, brother. Yeah, there it is. That's how you can get a hold of me.
All right. Thanks so much. We appreciated your time.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you.
This is Mike Swenson. Are you looking to get more out of your real estate career? Are you looking for tools and systems and ways to build wealth so that you can have the financial freedom that you desire? I have a vision to create 20 millionaires over the next 20 years, and I want to do that for you. If you're interested in learning more about that program and how I can help you, reach out to me at mike@realfreedom.com. That's MIKE@RELFREEDOM.com. Thanks.